Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 88. Happy New Year's, everyone. Here in Las Vegas, we're about 3 hours away. Those of you who are overseas, all of my listeners in Australia, Happy New Year to you folks for sure. All of my listeners on the East Coast of America, Happy New Year's to you folks as well. And to my European listeners in England and Ireland and wherever else you might be, Happy New Year. I hope that you're having a great time if you're out right now and you decided to listen to the podcast on your way home maybe, or maybe you're home hanging out and you see the podcast pop up and you decided, what the hell, we're going to give it a listen. Whatever you're doing, I hope that you're doing it safely, folks. I know I've been like a broken record the last few days about this, but it's important. Make sure you take an Uber, make sure you take a Lyft, public transportation, walk, whatever it may be. It's not worth getting behind the wheel if you've been drinking or you've been, if you're in a legalized state and you've been partaking in some marijuana or whatever it may be. You don't need to get behind the wheel. Take an Uber, take yourself a Lyft, take it easy. You don't want to ruin your life or anyone else's, because guess what? You want to be around for 2020, because I'm telling you right now, this is the year, folks. This is the year the predators are certainly turning into the prey. And that's going to lead into this article we're going to talk about tonight, because Virginia Roberts is asking the same questions I ask all the time on this podcast, folks. How is anyone associating with Ghislaine Maxwell right now? How is anyone hiding her? How is anybody harboring her? How is anybody giving her financial aid? Why would you give her comfort in any way? Why would you give her solace? If you're doing that, you are basically harboring a criminal, folks. I mean, she hasn't been indicted or charged with any crimes, but let's be clear, okay? Let's be clear. The only reason she has not been charged, in her own words, is because she has too much dirt on powerful people. So is that the case? Is the FBI going to respond to that? Is the FBI going to let her get away with that? If so, then we know who certainly is holding all the cards, and it's not the Federal Department of Justice. But I'm going to remain optimistic. I'm hoping that these people in the SDNY are going to do their job, and maybe there's a maverick or two. Maybe there's a maverick or two that does not care about exposing whatever sort of dirtiness is going on here. And that's what we have to hope for, folks. And our job is to make sure that we keep calling these knuckleheads out on their lies, and we keep this story in the very forefront for everybody to see at all times. Have you taken a look at like the Yahoo.com news and seen the nonsense that they run on there? You'd think they'd have a couple of articles about the Dubins or the poor Swedish girl that was at the Dubins' house, or something about Les Wexner. But you don't see any of that stuff, right? You see the same old tired regurgitated. It's all regurgitated nonsense, folks. All right, that's what it is. All regurgitated nonsense. You have these so-called journalists that are fed their information by these CIA agents and intelligence people, and they work on this parasitic symbiotic relationship. It's gross to behold, and I don't understand how these people can go to bed at night, these so-called journalists, and be happy with what they do, be happy with their body of work. I'm here to tell you, your body of work is trash. If all you're talking about is stuff you're being fed by the CIA, and you don't even corroborate any of it, you just believe what they tell you, well, that's what a lot of these reporters did with that whole Russia hoax, and they do it with everything else. It's such a symbiotic relationship that they have with the reporters and the intelligence community. It's an absolute and utter joke. And to think that the reporters in places like ABC are going to report on the people that's basically their lifeblood, the intelligence agencies, with this information, do you really think that they're going to blow them out of the water? They didn't even want to blow them out of the water over the prince. Never mind the intelligence agencies where they get their bread buttered. So forgive me if I don't believe a thing that the FBI says. They're going to have to prove it, right? All right, so let's hop right into this article. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. All right, headline. How is anyone hiding such a monster? Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Roberts says 99% of people would turn in Ghislaine Maxwell and asks who is protecting Jeffrey Epstein's pimp. Well, Virginia, we are asking the same questions on this podcast. We have been asking those questions from the very beginning, and we're proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with you as you ask these questions, because at the end of the day, if anyone deserves answers, it is Virginia Roberts, folks. Virginia Roberts has accused friends and family of hiding Ghislaine Maxwell so the British socialite pedophile can avoid an FBI probe into claims she acted as a pimp for pedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. And not only just a pimp, but she was engaging in the actions as well with some of these girls. And we know she was threatening girls as well. Roberts asked in a furious tweet today, how is anyone, friend or family member, hiding such a monster? 99% of the population would turn Ghislaine Maxwell in. Who's hiding who and why? It's a great question, right? Who is hiding who and why? She ended the tweet with several hashtags, including monsters hiding monsters and pedos hiding in plain sight. We're going to have to add those to our tags because those are good ones. And it's a full court press right now, folks. The way Virginia Roberts is coming out swinging, we have to do the same. We have to be just as aggressive with our criticism of these people that have been named directly in documents. And if the thing is, if you've been named directly in these documents, you are directly in my crosshairs. Everybody else who hasn't been named in the documents, that doesn't mean that I have exonerated them in my opinion or in my research and my investigation. It just means that they're not at the forefront right now. And Maxwell, oh boy, she is at the forefront, folks. She has always been. Her, Kellen, Leslie Groff, Adriana Ross, all of these women are the central and key to what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Roberts claims Maxwell recruited her into Epstein's circle before the financier, pedophile, forced her to have sex with wealthy and powerful friends, including Prince Andrew when she was 17. Prince Andrew, 59, who resigned from royal duties after a disastrous Newsnight interview last month, denies having sex with her and claims he can't remember meeting her despite a photograph of him with his arm around her. Maxwell, the daughter of publishing tycoon Robert Maxwell, is one of several close associates of Epstein under investigation by the FBI, but has so far not been interviewed and her whereabouts remain unknown. And I'd like to put a little asterisk next to that. They remain unknown to us. Who knows what the FBI knows? We really have no idea. The FBI probably knows exactly where she is. They're probably hiding her. Knowing the FBI and how corrupt the FBI has become, they're probably hiding her. She denies procuring underage girls for Epstein, who killed himself in prison while awaiting trial, allegedly. A close friend said this week that Maxwell believes she can escape prosecution forever and return to her partying lifestyle because she has so much compromising information on powerful people. What, really? So, let's see it. Let's see all your documentation. If it's going to keep you out of jail, right? You think it's going to keep you out of jail? Shouldn't you go to the FBI and say to them, hey, I have this information. I want a deal? I'm not saying the FBI should give her a deal, but if she has this information she says she has, shouldn't she do that? Or does she mean she's already given this information to somebody and it's on a dead man's switch? Something happens to her, click, the information goes out. Who knows? She's obviously an intelligence asset, folks, so she's a spy and she plays in that realm of the world. So she's not stupid, right? Ghislaine Maxwell's a lot of things, but she doesn't seem to be stupid. She seems to be very manipulative, very cunning, and very... Man, I don't even know the word I'm looking for with her, but just evil, right? Just evil, all around evil, but she's definitely manipulative. She's always trying to manipulate somebody. She is always working to manipulate, and she was somebody who was not above threatening people either, as we have heard from several of the girls. Laura Goldman said Maxwell is being hidden by rich friends, but plans to get back to normal once the dust settles, and is totally convinced that she can stay in hiding and eventually clear her name, the Sun Online reported. Miss Goldman, who is friends with Maxwell's sister Isabel, said Ghislaine and her sister Isabel remain totally convinced that she'll escape any criminal convictions and will eventually clear the family name and return to high society once the dust has settled. She has wealthy connections who hide her and even pay some legal fees. She can stay out of the public eye as long as she wants. And when they mean wealthy connections, does that mean the mega group? That's what I take it as. Sheldon Adelson, the Lauders, etc., etc. All right, what do they know? Why are these people never questioned? I don't care how rich they are. I don't care that they hang out like the Mr. Burns from The Simpsons and get together and swim around in their money like Scrooge McDuck. I don't really care. They need to be questioned. All these people in the mega group, why isn't the mega group blasted all over the place? Why isn't the legacy media ever talking about people like the mega group? And then you have groups like the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations. There are all of these think tanks that you would think are federally funded or whatever, but they're not. They're NGOs. I don't understand how places like the Trilateral Commission or the Council on Foreign Relations can have so much pull with our government. I'll never understand it. The only way that you can reconcile the two, the only way you can come to a conclusion that isn't just unbelievable is that there's a connection between intelligence and them. Okay? It's the only thing that makes sense at this point is that this has been an intelligence operation from the very, very beginning. Epstein's suicide in August at age 66, allegedly, came a little over a month after he was arrested and charged with trafficking dozens of underage girls as young as 14 from at least 2002 to 2005. Prosecutors said he recruited girls to give him massages, which became sexual in nature. Maxwell has previously accused Roberts of lying, leading Roberts to sue for defamation in 2017. Documents from that case, unearthed last week, contain further serious allegations against Maxwell, including claims she threatened a 15-year-old Swedish girl when she refused to have sex. Ronaldo Rizzo, a butler who worked with hedge fund billionaire Glenn Dubin, claimed Epstein and Maxwell brought the teenager with them when they visited his employers in New York and that he found the girl crying in the kitchen. The Dubins are way more guilty than anyone is pinning them, in my opinion. I don't even think they're enablers. I think that they were definitely involved. I had an email from a young lady named Celine, and she was talking about this, and she was spot on with her analysis. The Dubins need more light. More light needs to be shined on the Dubins, and we need to know exactly what was going on. Eva Anderson was way too close with Jeffrey Epstein. Way, way, way too close. She definitely knows what was going on. He said she described her alleged treatment at the hands of Maxwell and her assistant, Sarah Kellen, when she was being held at Epstein's property in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Mr. Rizzo claimed the girl told him that Maxwell and Kellen had demanded sex from her and taken away her passport and threatened her when she refused. He said she was distraught and shaking, literally quivering. He said in the document she proceeded to tell my wife and I was on the island, and there was Ghislaine, and there was Sarah, and she said, they asked me for sex. I said no. Mr. Rizzo then said she didn't specify who asked her for sex. She said they asked her for sex. So that means Sarah Kellen and Ghislaine Maxwell. According to Mr. Rizzo, after the young girl refused to have sex, Kellen took the young girl's phone and passport and gave them to Maxwell. And at that point, she said she was threatened, Rizzo testified. And I said, threatened? She says, yes, I was threatened by Ghislaine not to discuss this. So the young lady that sent me the email, Celine, shout out to Celine, she also brought up a good point that Rizzo should have gave this girl cab fare and sent her on her way to the Swedish embassy so they could redraw her passport and get her some help. I don't understand why nobody ever stepped in to help this poor girl. This 15-year-old Swedish girl, and it's horrible, that's what we have to call her, the 15-year-old Swedish girl. She doesn't even have a name, folks. That's how much of a entity she was to these people, how she was less than, all right? She was just less than. And they used her and abused her and did whatever it is that they did with this poor girl, and who the hell knows where she is now? Who knows what sort of trauma she's dealing with? Who knows what sort of PTSD she is dealing with? And Ghislaine Maxwell is still hanging out, eating caviar with her rich buddies, watching the ball drop in New York right now? It's unacceptable, folks. It is unacceptable, and the pressure is going to be kept on until they do their jobs. Because the year 2020, which is right now for some of you, about 3 hours away from me, oh yeah, everything gets kicked into overdrive. It's the year the predators turn into the prey. It's the beginning of the end of all of these sick bastards that were rolling with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's going to start with this trip to New Mexico. It's coming, folks. Can you feel it? I can feel it. I can smell it. 2020 is going to be the year that these people pay the price. All right, folks, if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. If you'd like to help support the show, you can click on the GoFundMe link that will be inside the description box. And again, please, 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 please do not drink and drive tonight. Do not party and drive tonight. Get yourself a ride home. Do the responsible thing, folks, all right? I want to make sure you're all here for this incredible year we have on tap. I'll be back tomorrow with a morning update, and it's so much fun, right? We've had so much fun doing this for 88 straight days. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. Happy New Year, everybody.